Hello, friends. The following video is a sample from my Patreon channel. I talk about Patreon a lot on this channel because it's so important to me that you learn the things that I can teach you through Patreon. So this is just a little sample. They're not very long. It's $5 a month. You get 5 videos a week, Monday through Friday. It applies to both at-home homemakers and payroll homemakers. And this is where you can decide if you want to be mentored by me. So if you decide you want to be mentored and you're in the Patreon channel, you've paid your $5, go look at the tiers and see what you need. All right, that's it. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy. Hello, patrons. Today we're talking about menu planning. Yes, we're visiting this again. The reason I'm talking about it today is that I think a lot of people may have some issues with their menu planning because they can't cook. They don't know how to cook, or they are not an experienced cook. I will tell you that I am a very experienced cook. I've been cooking since I was, 12, 13. And not full-blown cooking, but learning how to cook. And I've always cooked for myself and my family. And it's funny when I hear people talking about cooking so much during the time that we're in right now, this pandemic time. It makes me laugh because I always cook supper. Always. Unless we go out on a date, I cook supper. And it's not hard and it's not overwhelming. And the reason is because I cook simple foods. So what you have to have is the 3 building blocks for your meal. And that would be, what is my protein? What is my vegetable? What is my carbohydrate? Now, when I say simple protein, I mean a can of beans, or you could cook dry beans, but there's some steps to that. So let's go with a can of beans. Let's say pinto beans or black-eyed peas or something like that. You can drain them or you can opt not to. I opt not to. I don't care. I think they're delicious the way they are. Put them in a pan, warm them up. Put them in a glass dish, warm them in the microwave. You may want to season them. Maybe they want a little butter. Maybe that'll make them taste better. For me, I think green beans taste better with a little pat of butter. Maybe they need a little bacon drippings. That's what we use in the South, a little bit of bacon drippings. So that's just a little bit of fat from the bacon that's not burned. And you put a little bit in there to make them taste a little southern. That's also good in green beans, also good in peas, also good in, when I say peas, I mean like field peas or white navy beans or whatever, pinto beans. Okay, so that's a simple protein, a bean. Another simple protein, a chicken breast, a frozen chicken breast. You take it out in the morning and let it thaw, and then you simply saute it in a pan with a little spray, oil, or butter. Put a little bit in the pan, don't cook it too high, and cook that on both sides. You might want to season it. You could use a little salt and pepper, or you could use some kind of a seasoning that you like the smell of. You think it would taste good on chicken, smells good, put a little bit on there. Don't overdo it. You can always add more. And cook both sides until it's cooked through. Chicken is cooked at 165 degrees. I never test my chicken. What I know is my chicken is done when the juices run clear and there's no pink on the inside. That's done. Okay? So that's a simple protein for chicken. You could also do drumsticks. You could just put them on some tinfoil in a pan and bake them in the oven at 350 until they're done, until the juices run clear. Usually chicken is done in 20 or 30 minutes. You have to see how your oven goes. You could also do thighs that way. If you're doing thighs and you're keeping the skin on, my suggestion is to line the pan with tinfoil, put a rack in the pan, and put any kind of chicken with skin on top so that the fats drip down and into the tinfoil and they don't just seep in that fat. It'll give you a crispy skin if that's what you're looking for. Again, you can season it before you cook it. That's simple chicken. Simple beef. How about a hamburger patty? You can serve a hamburger patty without putting it in a hamburger bun as a piece of meat at dinner. So a hamburger patty is very simple. You just patty it, salt and pepper, and cook it in the pan on both sides until it's done to your liking. Now you may have to take a fork, take it out of the pan, and cut it open to see if it's still pink. If you like it pink, that's good. If you don't, let it keep cooking. Okay, that's the simple protein for beef. The simple protein for pork would be a loin pork chop, not with a bone. Bone makes it a little more difficult. A loin pork chop. It's just a little round medallion of meat. It's thick and it's got a little piece of fat on the edge. You can cook it the same way you cook chicken. Just put it on a little rack or it's not very fatty, so you can actually put it right on the tinfoil and bake it in the oven. Or you can saute it in a pan, the same way I described. So these are the easy ways to cook protein. You can do the same with fish. Saute in the pan or cook it, don't put it on a rack, it'll fall apart. Put it on some tinfoil in the pan. There are lots of ways to cook fish. Oh, fish au papillote, whatever, you're putting it in a bag and you can do all that fancy stuff, but you can't if you don't know how to cook. You need to learn the basics of cooking. So just put it on some tinfoil and stick it in the oven at 350. That smells good. I think I'll use a little of that. Old Bay seasoning or whatever, salt and pepper if your family's not wild about seasonings. Or if you like it and your husband doesn't, don't season his. Don't ever season the children's. Just don't season it. Let them have theirs plain. If they need a little salt, okay, but they don't need a lot of seasoning when they're tiny. I'm talking about tiny, 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. When they get a little older, their palate gets a little more mature. You can give them a little bit of seasoning, but not much until they get used to it. Okay, that's fish, that's chicken, that's beef, that's pork. What else is there? Whatever other kind of, you can do the same thing. You can do this with lamb chops, which I know sounds exciting, but it's not really. It's really easy to make, same way. Ribs, you can cook ribs the same way, slow in the oven. You might want to cover them because you want them to cook through. A roast, you can cook the same way in the oven or in a closed pan. I prefer a closed pan, and if you have an Instant Pot, I suggest a roast in your Instant Pot or your crock pot. Read the directions. That way that is sitting aside and you don't have to do anything with it until the time for it to be ready. A whole chicken you can cook that way in the Instant Pot or in the crock pot. Okay, now let's talk about simple starches. Simple starches. Rice is a simple starch. You have to learn how to cook rice. If you are not in the mood or not ready or don't care to learn how to cook it, then buy something called Success Rice, which is in a bag that you put in boiling water and you wait till it's done according to the directions. Salt the water or your rice won't be having any flavor. Put it in there and then take it out with a fork and drain it. Pour the water off, let it sit in the pan, cut it open. There's your rice. It's easy, easy, easy. You can make instant rice. I don't like instant rice, but if you like it, great. But you can learn to make rice in a pot. And the way you make it is you use 1 part water, 1 part rice to 2 parts water. What that means is if I want to make rice for my mother and myself and have a little left over, I would use 1 cup of water and 1/2 cup of rice and about a half, I don't know how much it is really, but a little bit of salt in my hand. So just enough to go around the pan once, and then I stir it, I taste it. If it tastes a little bit like the ocean, it's perfect. Put the rice in because the rice has no seasoning. It's going to soak it up. And then you bring it to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, you turn it down to very, very, very low. And you put the lid on it. You might have to check to see that something's happening in there. It can't just be sitting. It has to be simmering. It has to have little bubbles going, not just around the edge, little bubbles all through. Okay, keep the lid on for 20 minutes and the rice will absorb all the water and then you'll have delicious rice. You fluff it with a fork. Okay, but if you're not into that and that's too hard for you, then don't do that. Do the easy version. There's also microwavable rice now that just comes and you can microwave it. It doesn't matter. You're feeding your family and everybody's learning to eat things. Okay, now we can go to potatoes. You can boil potatoes in salted water. You can cut them up. You can peel them first and cut them up. This is some steps though, and these steps are what make it difficult. So if you don't want to peel them and cut them up and put them in salted water, again, taste the water. Does it taste a little bit like the ocean? Not super salty, but just a little salty, then you know it's good. Put your potatoes in. You'll learn by going through if it's not salty enough or it's too salty, okay? Tip, if something is too salty, put a raw potato in it. It'll absorb a lot of the salt. Okay, like if you made some green beans and you stumped your toe, tried to make fresh green beans and you put too much salt, cut up a potato and put it in there. It'll absorb some of the salt. Okay, all right, so back to, we're not on vegetables yet, we're just on starches. So your potato, if you cut it up and boil it, you can just put butter on it and serve it on the side. Or you can mash it with a fork or a potato masher, put butter in it and a splash of milk, stir it up until you like the consistency. Don't put too much because you can't take it out once it's in, but put a little until it gets to where you want. You could use milk, you could use half and half, you could use almond milk, unsweetened, no vanilla. But whatever it is, and you whip it up, and that's your potatoes. That's mashed potatoes. But you might not want to do that. That might be too many steps for you. In that case, then I would say don't cut the peels off. Cut it in 3 or 4 pieces and boil it in salted water until it's done. Fork tender it. Kind of put the fork in and turn it, and it kind of opens, falls apart. You know it's ready. Drain it and serve it with butter. Or put your potato in the microwave. Wash it first, a russet potato. Wash it, wrap it in a damp paper towel, and then wrap it in a dishcloth. Stick it in a clean dishcloth. Stick it in the microwave. I have a high-powered microwave. 6 minutes will make my potato perfect. You'll have to play with the time to see if it's going to be perfect. How do I know it's perfect? I reach in and I squeeze it, and I can feel it not just give, it gives. It's a done, nice, soft potato. You don't want to overcook it. So you might want to try 5 minutes first, and if it feels too firm, do it another minute or so. See if it's soft. Then you'll know this is how long I have to cook a potato. I don't eat a whole potato. A big old potato like that, I can divide with, if it's really big, I can make it go for 3 people. Cut it in pieces, put some butter on it, salt and pepper, it's ready to go. Put a little sour cream on it or a little fat-free Greek yogurt on it. It's delicious. Or some cheese on it. Or you can have baked potato dinner, which would be a baked potato, maybe some bacon or some ground beef on it, and all the little toppings that you like on a baked potato. Everybody can have their own, and it makes a nice big dinner. That would be your 3 things, because you would have vegetables like tomatoes and green onions. You would have the protein, whatever your protein is, and you would have your starch. Now, there are going to be fats and there are going to be sugars in your meal, but you want to keep those to a lower amount. This is the main thing, is your meat, your protein, and your starch. And your vegetable. Okay, so let's go off the potatoes. There's lots of things you can do with potatoes, lots of recipes, but want to keep it really easy. So the easiest thing is you can even boil them whole if they're small, is to boil them or cook them in the microwave, or you can wrap them in tin foil. You wash them, clean, dry them off, wrap them in tin foil, put them in the oven, but they have to bake a long time till they're ready. So you'll need to check to see how long that will take, but that's a very easy way of doing potato as well. All right, so what other starches can we have besides rice and potatoes? How about some pasta? Most pasta cooks in about 7 minutes in salted boiling water. So if you want to make macaroni noodles and have them on the side with butter, or you want to have spaghetti noodles and you're going to make some spaghetti, or you're just going to have noodles, like maybe you're going to have, there's something else you can make, shrimp. You can just cook shrimp. You cook shrimp so fast. You don't want to overcook it, just about 3 minutes. It's pink and it floats and you know it's ready. Take it out or it'll get tough. But you can take shrimp, that's how to boil shrimp, and just have boiled shrimp for dinner. But you can also saute shrimp without the shell in a pan with butter. You can even put a little garlic in there. It's not going to take much. Saute that, and you can pour a little white wine if you have any. If you don't, it's okay. Just have it the way it is, just butter and garlic. You can make plain noodles, pasta, spaghetti noodles, and just serve it over top. It'd be delicious. And that would be your starch and your protein. You just need a vegetable to go with that. So I think I've given you lots of ideas for the plain meats. All right, for this pasta, that's kind of the general rule. And then what other starches there? Okay, there are other starches like sweet potatoes, which you can handle the same way you do a baked potato. Bake it in the oven, or you can bake it in the microwave. Then there's also corn on the cob, or corn. That's a starch. So if you just want to have corn on the cob, that's super easy. A little bit of salted water, put the corn in there. Don't cook it too long. It doesn't take long at all for it to be ready. I'd say full boil 3 minutes and it's done. take it out, and serve it. Now, if you buy corn on the cob and it's in the ear, you have to pull the ear off and get all that silk off. It's not hard, it just takes practice. If it's too big for the pan, you can hold a raw piece of corn like this and go, and it'll pop, and you'll have two little short ears. Put it in the pan and boil it. But corn on the cob with a little butter and salt. It's wonderful. So those are your starches for now. There's more, but that's what we're going to go with. Real simple. And then vegetables. Your vegetables can be fresh, they can be frozen, or they can be canned. What kind of vegetables do you and your family like? If you want to make them fresh, it's going to be harder for you. So my suggestion, if you're just learning to cook, is to buy frozen or canned. Frozen is much better for you, but canned isn't bad. At least somebody's getting vegetables. So you want green and yellow and orange and just beautiful colors. You can also have sliced tomato or pickled beets on the side, or any kind of pickled vegetable. It's really good for your intestines, and it makes it perks it up, just like cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving or Christmas perks up the meal. The little pickled vegetables like pickled beets perk up a meal. Okay, and you can also serve a salad. So these are the things that you would do to build a menu. So I hope this gives you some ideas of things to do to build your menus. Choose from those three things. If you're going to make something complicated, only make one thing complicated. So for example, I'm calling complicated a couple of steps. Mashed potatoes would be complicated. If you're peeling potatoes, slicing potatoes, boiling potatoes, mashing potatoes, adding milk and butter and stirring them up, it's really not complicated, but it's got several steps. So for a new cook, that's really hard to do if you're doing that and chicken marsala and something, asparagus, fresh asparagus in the oven, it just too many things for you to do. So pick one complicated thing if you choose to do so. Like if you want to make homemade macaroni and cheese, look at the recipe. Imagine making it in your head. See what it takes to do. Figure out the timing. This meat only takes me 20 minutes and I can leave it alone pretty much. My starch is only going to take me 20 minutes and I can leave that alone pretty much. So I can mess with this for 20 minutes, but it's saying that it takes, or I can see that it's going to probably take me 30 minutes. So I need to start this 10 minutes before I even get my meat going. Okay, so potato salad, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes, Waldorf salad, which is an apple salad. Just any salad that you have to put together is steps. So anyway, that's it. I hope this was helpful. If you want more, let me know. And always remember to be beautiful because you are beautiful.